Alright, we are live, boys and girls. We are live. Alright, let's see what we got here. Oh, wait, what the hell? Rolling Loud is happening right now? Shit. Live streaming Rolling Loud on Twitch. Check that out. I got some hoes that can bring a boy back some wood. Is that Young Dolph or something? Wait, what's the lineup for Rolling Loud actually? Oh, okay, so today's Kid Cudi's headlining it actually. Wait. Isn't Lil Uzi supposed to be playing today? I think he is. Or maybe I just missed him. Okay, you know, I don't want to get DMCA'd on this. I'm gonna just watch Prize and Dota. Screw it.
And that may just open up the Roshan they're looking for. In fact, it still doesn't apparently.
They just don't clear it fast enough. Not until the shard plus Moon Shard is up on the Lush. The double shards need to be up on the Tiny. I think that's when your physical output feels a lot better for the Rosh Pit. Until then, you're just kind of playing a waiting game. You are allowing Natsumi to still maintain number one net worth here. 2k above in your dream. The Bloodseeker is looking bigger and bigger. Lincoln's to protect from the static link. You've got the Mjolnir coming through soon, so even more damage coming through, and
very easy setup there for Nevermind.
Barca got wrecked. Jesus.
They find the ward now.
Let's see who.
On that cliff, but it's already too late.
14-11 with the Tiny. Okay.
Well, the ward's probably going to expire before they can actually get into that area.
Actually, if I was in this lineup,
GXC in a very rough
I'm not sure who I favor. Actually, I think the lineups are pretty even.
Find a way to make this one work.
I think the Bloodseeker falls off, so does the Tiny. The Leshrac scales really well.
They're just hanging around that radiant, trying to
yeah, I guess they punish mobility really hard, and Leshrac and Razor really rely on mobility. So I think I favor Dyer's a little bit more.
And Lelouch gets started on the Roshan. He does have that Axe Shard up, so that's
I think in terms of execution, I think Radiant's like a lot easier. It's pretty close, but I think I favor Dyer just a little bit more. Okay, there's a Lincoln's on the Razor. Oh, whoa, what the fuck happened to this Leshrac? Holy shit. His farm's awful.
They might try for something big, but Nevermind jumps right in.
They got him.
In your dream, he's a target. He'll beat Kimby in time. TMB could not get the overgrowth out just the nick of time as now Lelouch. He's the one in danger, but no, never mind. He'll turn around. Boom Boy, he's the one that needed the ambulances in your dream. He's getting a rush down here by Natsumi. Just trying to run. The Hex, it buys him a bit of time. It's going to be enough. Alacrity in the meantime, though. Still fighting on the left track. Can he really do it?
This Leshrac's Denzo.
He's going to wear off.
Oh, he only has a hood, he has a shroud, and a BKB. Yikes. Literally no armor. He's gonna die to every single right click in the world. Yeah, 30 minutes in. That Leshrac's not happy. I feel like he should have at least like one more item on top of it.
Yeah, back into the pit they go. Really not gonna take too long now. The output of Lelouch and Natsumi skyrocketing at this point. They had such a good reading player.
I think the Bloodseeker takes this actually, not the Tiny.
The jungle with the camps kind of going in and out.
Yeah, there you go.
Ward on that cliff spot, and get the angle they need. Force the early BKBs. Nevermind showing up in this game once more. Laning phase was a bit slow. You know, he did die a couple times down the bot, but with a blink BKB, he's just been that foundation for players to play off the back of. And with that take, secondary life up on Natsumi. The damage output of Lelouch just really shooting.
So the question, how do you go high ground?
Is pretty much our usual pause. One Tiny now.
I feel like it's kind of hard to go high ground.
Hyperstone on hand.
It
doesn't feel like NGX.
The Leshrac's pretty underfarmed, so actually it might not matter. I think he's gonna go for the shroud.
25.
Not shroud, but the shard, and just try to delay the high ground push as much as possible.
The output
So I think just get like an AC or something on the tiny, and then the Bloodseeker probably gets, I don't know, like Sanjuyasha?
NGX had this
Actually, what the heck does the Bloodseeker have on
timing
him?
that felt really good. They weren't able to capitalize. They took one tier 1 up top, mid still stands.
No, the Bloodseeker needs like some kind of like
the issue for them.
like
Every time they
mix
smoke
of like
low
tanking
around
damage, I
top
think.
jungle, they can't cut through to
That's
win.
why I think like
They're just held in the top
Sanjuyasha is
jungle.
gonna be the
Polaris
item
just
here.
holds on triangle. Suddenly the smoke's constantly wasted. The aggression just doesn't come out for NGX.
Mid lane, in GXC, they're gonna clear out the creep.
Oh, okay, he's got Lincoln's, Mjolnir, BKB. Okay, he's actually got pretty good defensive items. I think he purely just needs the damage now.
It's gonna be TMB on that tree, but even he's gonna run off. So they might be able to
Some armor would be nice, actually.
Down to the bot rune spot. NGXC still wrapping around, but no, they're just gonna go back to their outpost. That makes this
Like
very
Butterfly?
obvious.
Maybe Butterfly is the
And now
item
maybe
for the
arcane runes are
Bloodseeker
bait
then.
For Polaris.
Yeah, I think it's a Butterfly.
Joe Cam's gonna shot. Oh boy.
Oh.
What was that?
Lelouch.
What was that?
He took it.
Oh man, that was a great recall.
Gets recalled as well. They work on the top with a moon shard up. I mean, these towers just melt, Mikey. This is still a tiny. At level 20 with the level
Oh, he's going for a
talent
basher.
running.
Okay. I guess he feels like he
Now
wants to
NGX,
lock down.
their window just feels shut.
That's fair.
They need to find a way to bust it open. They need to find a way to play against those BKBs, play against the physical burst on hand
Okay,
from Polaris. I think
And wrecked. Yikes.
Always gonna jump the line. Every chance you get, you will burst the line down first. Lelouch says thank you very much for that.
Oh, they're not even going for the AC. Holy crap. They're actually just going to go straight damage. Guess the Leshak's just not a factor in this game. Christ.
I don't know what he can do on this Razor to slow this down. It's a very tough situation. There's another toss back out onto Mizu.
Oh,
He's going to
no.
BKB up and try to run, but the
That's no go.
overgrowth is going to hold him down. It's just so tough. Now
The
Robson
Leshak is
Alacrity,
done,
Lelouch with a toss back into
Wait,
the
did I say that they were
front.
even? Jesus Christ. I have made a
In your
mistake.
dreams trying to fight. There is no fighting.
I guess the Leshak just was not strong enough for this.
They're trying for a bit more.
I thought the lineup was actually pretty
Past the T4 towers
fairly
quite yet.
even, but I guess the Leshak just kind of got hammered home.
They are forced to
Alright,
line
well,
back
it's 8
up from
p.m.
Alacrity
Let's go
anyway.
ahead and bring my client on. Let's see what we can do. Hello?
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? Nothing much.
Okay.
Since last time, did like one or two questions. I'm beginning to I feel like self-analyzing myself is becoming a lot more difficult.
Okay.
It was like usually when I watch my videos over again, right?
Yep.
And then what I realize like for some questions I get it wrong, or I take too long. It's like, okay, I think of it as, okay, I went down this path because I had XYZ information, right? And essentially, if I had this certain insight, then I would have behaved a lot differently, and I think I would have been able to solve the problem a lot more.
Okay.
And that insight, it seems to be, like, pretty critical, more or less. And then I question myself, okay, how do I get X insight? Like, the certain insight? And then, to me, that insight I find is usually like really question dependent, and I'm not sure how to like generalize it. I guess.
So the question is, so you're asking like, okay, well, now I have this insight, how do I make it more general? The question is, I would say like 80-90% of the time, it's not about the insight itself. It's about being in the position to derive that insight. So give me a specific example of this, actually.
Okay, I mean from basically last week's stream, essentially where I solved the optimal account balancing problem. But that's one example, at least. So in that case, I didn't realize like, oh, you know, if people that owe money to another person, if person X owes money to person Y, then their balance should be negative. Yeah, I didn't get that. Like, oh, you know, I didn't consider negatives at all in that situation. I'm like, oh, okay, we just keep injecting money to everyone, and then that just ruined me.
No, so that's what I mean. You're misanalyzing it. That's when you get to question dependence to shit like that. that is not like easily extractable. Like if it's like data structure stuff, then okay, that's right. But what you did was you are basically memorizing questions. That's the difference. Do you understand why?
Because the insight is 2-question dependent.
Correct. So the question is, how do I put myself in the right position in order to get the right insight?
Yeah.
So you're doing it wrong.
So I'm either right or I'm wrong. Yeah.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Oh, I'm doing it wrong. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So let's go through that exercise again with the. Let me pull up your problem sheet again.
Yeah.
Give me a sec. Yeah. So let's look at the optimal account balancing problem again, right? So you have like a bunch of transactions, right? So the logic of this problem is, okay, well, try every single possible combination of paying each person back, right? If we step back, like, okay, well, we can go from the balance being positive or negative, right? But then it's like, wait a minute, that's way too specific. There has to be something else. What do I need to do in order to figure out that I could try every single possible combination or how to structure it, right? So in other words, the whole point is to go forward. So if we arrive at a dead end, there's another way we can do this, right? So if we follow like the logic that I represented before, right? Where I have, okay, for every single transaction, that there must be someone else who pays that person back. It does, and the insight is actually it doesn't matter who pays that person back, right? And so the thing we would do is actually just come up with examples and model the transactions. So in other words, if we just end up doing like the example 1, right? We identify, hey, there's one way to settle the debt is for person 1 to pay person 0 and person 2 owe $5 each, right? So, but the thing is that person 1 is never even in the transaction between person 0 and 2. So why would person 1 pay back person 0 or 2?
Yeah.
That's one example. So it's like, wait a minute. If I have all these different like thousands of transactions, if I scaled out the number of transactions or just looked at it, something that seems weird, then I can latch onto it. So in other words, this boils down to, hey, is there any anomaly in the example? Or in every single idea I have, is there a counterexample or some insight in what I'm doing that is against it? In this case, what you did was like, oh yeah, why doesn't person 1 pay like all the net debts of another person, right? Like, but the thing is that, okay, that's actually kind of true. That's actually exactly what ends up happening, right? Except for the fact that you overcomplicated it by just saying, oh, we need to add up all the inflows and outflows. That's the difference what you did. All I said was, hey, why not make it simpler? Why do you need to add up all the inflows and outflows on the spot? Why does it matter? Why can't you just keep a balance of it? Why not just like save the state? It's effectively just memoizing and caching the net flow, right?
Okay, yeah.
So in other words, the key to doing it is like you are on the right track. It's just how do I make it more simple?
Yes. How can a 5-year-old understand it?
Exactly. So it just boils down to the exact same thing. It's like, oh, the idea sounds way too complex. Is all these steps really necessary? So that's the analysis that you should have had. It's like, wait a minute, why don't I try simplifying the problem even more? Same thing with that problem that you gave of like the histogram, right?
Oh yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. It's that why don't I simplify the problem? What is preventing me from, consuming all these rectangles on the right side versus the left side? What is that one fact? Why does this make sense?
Yeah.
So in other words, the heuristic is if it's overcomplicated, there's chances are that you can simplify it. That's what you should have been. That's the general takeaway. You see how I work through that?
Yeah. So if it seems too complicated, is there any way I can simplify it?
Yeah. But the bigger point I'm trying to show you is how to work through your own mistakes. I'll tell you this. Okay. There are 10,000 mistakes in the world. You're not going to memorize every 10,000 mistake or every 10,000 situations. At best, you can memorize 10 different heuristics.
And then, so then you should be able to derive those insights yourself to avoid having the need to memorize all those mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, if I applied that heuristic or general idea that I can apply to any problem of, hey, I was on the right track, let me just simplify it a little bit more. Am I carrying any extra weight? Am I being inefficient? Yeah. So it's a combination. It's basically a combination of simplifying it plus inefficiency.
Yeah. You just basically identify the inefficiencies, identify anything that's not important to the problem, and try and get that to a better runtime or simplify it. Essentially. Simplify
the problem. Why is it? It's like it's so complicated. There's no way I can calculate all this on the fly. Do I really need all these?
Yeah.
So that's So if you're not doing that, then something is wrong with the way you've been looking at your own mistakes. Like, was it not clear in the guide, or what did you get? Let me ask. What did you not get in the guide? What was your interpretation of looking at mistakes in the guide?
Okay, so let me start with the mistake number 4, because everything else sounds okay. Well, I read the mistake section again, so everything sounds like okay. Mistake number 1, not putting enough time, blah blah blah. So then we move on to mistake number 4. So not fixing your own mistakes, right? So essentially, from what I got from it was, essentially, okay, how did I get how information? How do I put myself in a position to derive XYZ? Essentially, and that's where, like, okay, how do I put myself in a position to do that? Like, how can I stop repeating my mistakes over and over again, other than putting the question dependent insight, essentially.
Right. So in other words, if you let's say like let's take these two sentences, right? What steps have you taken to make sure you don't repeat the same mistake again? And if you're repeating your mistakes, you aren't fixing your mistakes. In other words, there are 10,000 mistakes that you're making, and if we took the spirit of exactly what you're doing and said, "Hey, let me just memorize these 10,000 mistakes," are you likely to make the same mistake again?
No, not really. Yeah.
No, you would be. Why?
What?
Imagine if I asked you to memorize like 10,000 facts of the United States.
I thought you said if you memorize the essence of the question.
No, I said what you've been doing, which is memorizing specifically for that problem.
Yeah, then you'd be likely to make the mistake again.
Yeah, because you're gonna because it's human nature to kind of mess up some things, right? So, in other words, it's just like, hey, if I think critically about the way I'm doing this, as like I'm memorizing something very specific, am I likely to screw it up again? Yeah, probably. If you told me like, oh, how does the JVM work or is how Java work? I'm probably gonna screw up like a factor or two, but I'll probably get like 90% right.
Yeah.
Huh? So, but it's like if I have these like heuristics, then it's so like I have like 5 or 10 heuristics. It's very difficult to just fuck up those 5 and 10 heuristics if I keep using them. So that's you see how like easy it was to figure out like, hey, am I really gonna make sure that this is not gonna happen again?
Yeah. So and then how deriving the essence of the mistake, then how does that usually come through to you?
Basically, I just look for a general strategy that I can apply in order to get to the solution state, right? Remember the reverse engineering stuff we've been doing with Elements of Programming interview? What does it take for me to go from what my solution is to what they did? What were their thought patterns? Yeah, it's like, what heuristic do I apply in order to get to their ideas? What did I need to do? If it's something memorizing like this one specific case, this one specific time, chances are that's the wrong way of doing it, especially if you're doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
In general, like EPI does have some insights, right? But most of the time, it involves just like looking at some kind of inefficiency or simplifying the problem. It really just boils down to those two. The question now becomes: do I need in this situation? Do I need to optimize against like time inefficiency or space inefficiency, or simplify my code a little bit, etc., etc.? That's what you should be focusing on. Like, why did they go down the route of simplifying code this time versus simplifying their inefficiency this other time?
Okay.
So if you've been just trying to memorize specific facts and figures from random EPI problems, you've been doing this entirely wrong. And
I mean, not the EPI. It's just the leak code questions. I feel like.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, leak code is kind of dog shit.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't recommend you do leak code necessarily, to try and do the exact same thing or memorize their answer or fact. The question is, what heuristic do you apply in order to get to the correct state? Or sometimes you're so far off that you might need to apply a bunch of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So apply more heuristics.
Okay.
Yeah, for EPI, basically I've already finished the book. I just need to do some of the more honors class, I feel, and that's basically it. Except for the bit programming.
At this point, your problem isn't doing the number of problems. You've already done 250 problems of them. The question is, how do you learn from your mistakes properly? And I feel like we haven't done a good job at that for whatever reason. I feel like I'm not sure why, but there's just like a lot of mistakes to go through.
Yeah, that's my fault. I don't think I'm pretty trash at everything.
It's fine. It happens. That's what I'm here for, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
Anyway, now it's like if we had more time, then it'd be easier. You know, it took me 4 months with Matthias, right? And we hit the shot, but with you, I've been trying to do it in like 5 weeks, which is, you know, and like a fucking quarter of the time, which is I didn't expect much.
Yeah, and I got the 50-50, which is now riding on the
You hit
next
the 50-50,
interview.
so let's see if we can get it, right? So we do what we can.
Also, do you mind taking a look at my mental checklist again?
Sure.
And making sure everything's on track?
Okay. Let's take a look at it.
Let me copy paste it in the prep doc again.
Okay.
I'm gonna paste it right below the current one.
Put in 719 or 720. Okay.
Right here. I'm just gonna revise and then I'm gonna paste it right underneath. So it's just a page and a half.
Okay, let's see.
Almost. Well, yeah, almost around a page and a half.
Okay, so let's see.
It's mostly dealing with the high level, how do I come up with the solution sort of thing.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, so this is actually quite big. Let me go ahead and understand input, output, check. This one should, I'm gonna say that this one should be obviously, like some of these should be like instinctively, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah. That's why I didn't write much other than understand input and output.
That's fine. And give simplest example, sure. State the objective on the way. You want me a little bit more clear on this, like objective. What is the most important thing at this moment?
Yeah. That's the next thing. I probably should indent the next point. It's basically what I'm the essence of it. Yeah. Remember that.
Right. So this is like a question you should always be asking yourself. What's my objective? So it's like, okay, so do not lose the interviewer. Yeah, that's heuristic. That's not like a step-by-step, but yeah, it's general. Okay, give a high-level description of the solution. It should be under 10 seconds, get like 5. Yeah, how have I come up with a brute force solution? And there's one other thing that I mentioned.
What do you mean? Other than how I come up with the brute force solution?
Remember I said that last time?
Something. Make sure that the brute force solution is Eli 5.
No, make sure that it even works.
Oh yeah. That comes with the testing part later on.
I would say for the brute force solution, in general you might want to at least say make sure it reasonably works, because the brute force solution is the naive one, right? You're not gonna write out the whole code for it.
Yeah. So for this point, I feel so I have like high level points essentially, and like the bullets are in it, right? So have I come up with the brute force solution, and then if I say yes, then I'll go to the next top level bullet point, which is test solution with examples.
No, well, what about this one? How would I come up with a solution? What the heck is this
and then that one is just like, okay, how would I come up with the solution? Essentially, it's all under, okay, how do I give a high level description of the solution?
Well, you just told me two contradictory things. You just said, hey, once I've solved this question, I go to the next high level one. But then what happens to this question?
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure, but whatever.
Okay.
It's
sorry.
on you. If it fucks up, it's on you.
Okay.
I'm giving you my feedback, so okay. It's too complex. It's simple way to simplify it. Yeah. Layer by layer versus deepest part. DFS has post order. You might want to add a little thing about weights, based on our last discussion. Like
paths. Yeah. I feel weights would probably be under graph versus tree for me.
Fair. All right. What tree of no cycles, hierarchical. Yeah, I don't think there's any flow in the graph. Topological sort can be used with DAGs. Yeah, dependency problems. DAG dependency. Okay, topological sort. Do we need to visit modes? Visit traverse and now we can cache old results. .NET programming. Yeah. Don't forget we have problems where we must visit edges instead of nodes. Well, I mean, so what? Of course you need to visit edges instead of nodes, but
I mean,
if it helps you, it helps you.
Sorry.
If it helps you, it helps you.
Okay, yeah.
This is not something I would add, but it's fine. DP versus greedy. Greedy makes local options. Yeah, this is by definition of greedy. Of course it does.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you differentiate the two?
Yeah, so that's for me. I feel okay. Greedy. I can just make the best choice, and that leads me to the optimal choice. Well, essentially, it's just the problem, and then it's more like defining exactly what DP is, and if it's not DP, I could try a candidate for greedy.
The way I would think about this is literally, can I be lazy as possible without penalty?
Okay, let me write that down then.
That's my heuristic, but it's gonna mean something different to you, so I wouldn't recommend you copy it. What lazy to me is lazy to it might be like hard working to someone else. Like, you know, I like my friends think I'm fucking insane for, you know, studying for the Chartered Financial Analyst exam casually while doing a full-time job and while going to the gym. And I think that's pretty lazy because, you know, I haven't actually fully dedicated myself to it. But they're thinking, like, holy fucking shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, I understand that, yeah.
So, lazy to me is going to be lazy to someone else. It's different for someone else, so. Alright, cumulative prefix sums, cumulative sums. No idea what the fuck this means.
It's basically we can use the previous, the neighbor, the previous result to add to the current result.
Okay, here's where I'm starting to have a bit of a problem, is that you're starting to describe the types of problem. Do you understand where this might be a problem, where this is kind of weird?
Yeah, okay, I should probably describe when I would be using prefix sum.
No. Do you understand why it's weird to organize things like this?
Basically categorizing the types of problems I'll be encountering.
Yes, which means, what's the assumption that in order to do that, you need to assume something? What's the thing you just assumed?
I need to assume I need another type of problem.
Yeah, you assume that you know that this problem is going to be a binary search problem. Like, you assume that you know you're going to use heaps here. That's the problem with this.
Okay, yeah.
This checklist is basically like, yeah, like, if you know it's this type of problem, then you can do this. The question is, what if I took that away from you?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess for me, when I put these bullet points, I'm thinking, okay, how some of them are, okay, these some heuristics on when I can use this pattern, essentially.
Okay, sure, but at the end of the day, what we want to do is really boil it down to like only a handful of heuristics and questions that you need to be able to pass any question reasonably well. And so trying to memorize like shit like this, BFS versus DFS, graph and tree, DP, it's great that you have that on paper, but it's not going to be the, you know, when your back's against the wall and you need to really have like, 3-5 things in your pocket, it's not going to be these. As long as we're clear on that.
Yeah, that's clear. Yeah, that's clear. Yeah,
these are things that should be like instinctive at this point. If I need case smallest largest, I should instinctively do heap. So these things that should be burned in your brain at this point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I recognize that.
Okay,
so, yeah.
backtracking. I will tell you this, I would not put backtracking on my fucking list, only because all I think about is, do I need to save and restore states? I never think of it as backtracking because, like I said, I always describe everything in terms of ELEC 5, so I can memorize a whole lot fewer vocab words.
Okay.
But that's me.
Then, all right. Yeah, let me revise my list after then.
Sure. If it helped you, it helped you. But I'm just saying what I carry around in my head and why I would put it. Intervals intersect. Do not I don't know. This one it's way too specific. It's just the thing is that if it's tautological, if you're just explicitly stating the definition of what it is, it's I'm gonna say it's bullshit, and it doesn't belong on the list because it should have been the definition should be memorized, right? If I asked you to describe a binary search tree or a binary search, do you need to have that on your list?
Not really.
No, you can describe to me what a binary search is in general. That should be instinctive, so it doesn't make sense to fucking put that on the list.
Yeah.
There are some things that should be instinctive on automatic and some things that shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm. I guess this was more of a reminder for me, like, defining how intersections interact, because then I get confused by the start and end point, but I should probably memorize that anyways. Well, derive it, so I think this is probably a moot. What I'm saying, this is probably moot. I should delete it.
Okay, sure, whatever. I mean, to be fair, I don't memorize when intervals intersect or, like, the fucking, thing. All I do, like, for the intervals thing, if you told me to bring an interval, I just draw that shit out.
Yeah,
I don't even memorize the intersection formula at all.
Yeah. It's just more of a faster in speed than rather than towards correctness.
Really? You think that memorizing this entire list is going to make you faster?
No. I meant just the interval part. Because deriving it myself, I feel when I deal with intervals, it takes when I draw the examples a little bit, I can save some time if I just put sort of this down.
Okay, think of it this way: you can only carry. Let's say you have a backpack and you can only carry 5 items in it.
Yeah.
Is this one of the 5 items that you want to carry?
No.
There you go. So it's every single thing that's in your brain. It carries an opportunity cost of memorizing it. Would you memorize I'd rather memorize a heuristic over a very specific fact, not any day of the week.
Mm-hmm. Because
the heuristics, I get more value out of it than one specific fact for one specific situation. So you can memorize the interval thing, but I'm going to tell you straight up, if you can't derive it within like 3-5 minutes, then chances are you're weak at just drawing out examples and being able to relate that to an idea in code. That's what I think the real weakness is. So if you have to this is why like memorizing like answers don't work. It's you're basically memorizing shit like this when you can easily just derive it with a good heuristic, and as long as you're practiced at it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this is telling me. This is telling me that you're shit at drawing ideas out and interpreting them.
Okay.
So that's gonna be. I mean I mentioned that draw out your examples and stuff before in the past, and I feel like you've covered that. I think I'm starting to understand why you haven't been making much progress. Is because I've called out these heuristics in the past, but you don't really practice them or use them. You just kind of memorize the answers anyway.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much what's going on, based on what I've just seen here. So you don't practice. Basically, you don't practice these heuristics that I'm talking about. You just kind of see them as like a inconvenient. I think your brain interprets them more as like an inconvenient list of okay, let me just do this. But there's no like understanding of it. You're going through the motions of it. You're not understanding the value of it, or you're not comfortable with it. It's one or the other.
So like not understanding the value of like explain like on 5, you mean?
It's like if I tell you to buckle in your seatbelt before you drive. Yeah. You're thinking it's more like you're taking it more like oh yeah, this is a command that everyone's telling me to do and I guys got to do it. You're not thinking of it as like oh yeah, this is something I need to do so I don't die.
Okay.
It's a subtle understanding. It's like something that you can make into an instinct and habit. It's like another thing, like this example of walking, right? I say one foot in front of the other, then move onto your heel, move onto your toe, push off the back foot, right? But there's a difference between me saying all that versus walking. Do you see what I'm trying to get at? One of them is instinct, one of them is describing step by step. And you're at the step by step stage.
Yeah, so I need to make it more into instinct.
Yes, exactly. You need to make it smooth. Like, you need to make sure that this is something I can do. That I know, like, hey, if I run into this situation, I can pull this heuristic out of the bag and then just apply it immediately. And that's the difference between. But what you're doing instead is like, oh, I have an interval problem. I don't know what to do. Let me just try to let me just look inside my brain for one of the memory mistakes that I've made. When it's just so much easier just to apply like a heuristic or something, or like some rule, some general problem-solving tactic to it.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Okay, test the solution with examples. Yeah, if the solution is correct, go back, hash out more details of the algorithm. Okay, yeah, sure. Make sure every step is easily understandable. The solution is fine. I mean, overall, it's fine. It's just that your structure is right. It's just the tools you're coming in with is wrong.
Okay.
In other words, you're trying to memorize it by problem type, and I'm trying to tell you, no. These are like little mistakes. These should be like your instincts, and you can write out your instincts, but it's like at the end of the day, you need to. I would say it's better for you to just apply heuristics. Like again, like simplify it to explain like on 5, draw it out, and all that stuff. And you saw like how easily like I could solve like so many problems, like even though I've never seen it before, just by applying those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's my feedback to you. Really think in terms of like if you had a backpack of like 5 or 7 items, which ones would you take?
Okay. Yeah. So I'll expand upon this list a little bit more with the heuristics, and then I'm gonna try and simplify those then.
Right, not just that. It's okay to write it out, but it's like at the end of the day, there's only gonna be like a few tools that you're gonna need to carry, right? It's like to simplify the situation. Let me say I'm gonna drop you anywhere. Let's say I'm gonna teleport you to any place on Earth, and you can only take 10 things, or like 5 things, or whatever. You know, what are those 10 or 5 things gonna be?
I don't know. I hear a towel is pretty good.
Yeah, but you get my point, right? Like, I'm not saying like to do that right now, but I'm saying that this is the attitude you should have when you're going to a problem.
Okay, yeah, the attitude, yeah.
Well, for any problem-solving approach, and our goal here with trying to do problems is to improve that backpack, whether it's by our own instinct or whether it's like a new tool that we actually need to have.
Mm-hmm. So, what 10 items would you bring then if it was just like same question, I guess?
For teleporting or like for heuristics or problem?
Teleporting.
Probably wallet, phone, charger, and battery. Yeah, that's 4 right there. And then after that, I mean, the wallet would probably have, of course, have like cash in it. So yeah, probably that's already like 4 items, right? And then it would definitely be like after that, probably a few like t-shirts, jeans, Timberlands for clothing, And because I know that's gonna work pretty much. We're all black except Timberland's probably brown. I don't care. And then I would need to be able to bring like water of some kind of. But let's say I'm like portable, you know. I'm assuming that that some place I dropped in the middle of is gonna have like water, but like, you know, I probably should bring like a water bottle or something. Just so I can make sure I can make it out of civilization. Of course, I'm totally fucked if you dropped me in the middle of Sahara Desert. There's no way I can
Yeah, I was thinking that. Like, what do I bring if I'm dropped in the like the middle of nowhere? I like other than a towel, I didn't really
These are
know what
things
to
that
bring.
that you have to be able to carry around. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
there's some situations, no matter what you do, you're gonna get fucked, right? Same thing with like dropping in the middle of Sahara Desert with like no map or no internet to tell where you're at.
Yeah.
You're just plain fucked. There's nothing you can do about that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Minus
maybe
ammo.
someone with like who's smarter and more creative can come up with an answer to that. But yeah, it's like just being able to handle like 99% of situations where like, okay, I get dropped in the middle of like, you know, like let's say Russia or something, or hopefully not North Korea, and you know, hopefully I don't get into the DMZ zone, you know. Like those are the extreme examples. Like I'm not gonna bring like a fucking what's it called, a like minesweeper or whatever, just in case I get dropped in the middle of the DMZ zone. Like that's kind of absurd, you know. I like 10 items.
Yeah.
But you get my point. It's like you're trying to cover for the demilitarized zone, and you're bringing a fucking like minesweeper, when most of the problems are not gonna drop you there.
Yeah, I guess for me, yeah, I was thinking only of extremes then. I didn't really think about the general case.
No, like just make sure that the items that you have are like gonna cover like 90% of your ass, and then the last 10% are gonna be like those little one or two, like those little things in your mind or instinct. Like I've seen this before.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. You just need to make sure you can really use like your 5 or 10 tools really well, and then the last few things are like, oh yeah, I've seen this problem before, or some shit. Anyway, with that, let's do a problem.
Okay.
Remember, we're always trying to improve our problem-solving approach, so just keep it like you would a normal interview, and let's see how we're at.
Okay. Try my best.
Oh, I'm in the wrong account. Give me a second. Okay, I've given you that problem, given that problem. Jesus Christ. I really don't want to give you a tree problem. I feel like that's just going to be way too easy for you because you already recognize it's a tree problem. God damn it, I gotta find one that's like ambiguous. Shit. Let me see.
Well, yeah. As a side note, did you see that game I linked the with the Strand of the Cat roleplay as Bread Cat?
The what? The which game? What?
So I linked the trailer, right? Like in the server for a cat game that you can roll.
Yeah.
You can play as a cat.
I saw that. I think Brev's gonna like that, but I think he's in New York right now.
Yeah, it seems interesting. Like when I look at the trailers, like I want to play that game, but
Well, do it after you get done with the coding interview.
for sure. That's after, yeah.
All right, yeah. I'm still looking for the problem. Give me a sec.
Yeah, no worries.
That's one you've already done. Okay, you know what? Let's do 2 problems instead. I'm going to give you a warm-up one, but I expect you to go very quickly on this one.
Okay. Let's hope I can go quickly on that one.
You should be more confident than that. You've practiced 150 problems. You should be good. But
yeah.
Oh wait, is it this one? Oh, okay, yeah. Let's do this one. let me start the timer. Okay. So, for K employees, we're given a list of intervals representing the working hours of each of our employee. Our goal is to find out if there's a free interval that is common to all employees. You can assume that each list of employees' working hours is sorted based on start time. So, for instance, if the employee working hours are 1-3-5-6 and then 2-3-6-8, then there is a free time for both of them between the hours of between 3 and 5. Does it make sense?
Both the employees are free between 3 and 5 because all the employee working hours have a free time that is between that. They have a common working hour that's 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember you have K employees, so.
Yeah. So, just to get this straight, so 3 to 5, all employees are okay. Yeah, free. They're free between 3 and 5.
Yeah.
They're not working during. Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah. Okay, so first off, let me understand it a little bit more, because I guess the end time doesn't really matter. The exact end time doesn't matter because we see that we have 5 here.
Okay.
And 5 is also in the time. So I guess when we do okay, let me simplify this a little bit. They start at 3, they can end at 5 o'clock and they can start at the same time, right?
Okay.
An example. Yeah, so if an employee ends at 5 o'clock, they can immediately start working at 5 o'clock anyways. So that's fine. So yeah, we're given a list of intervals representing the working hours of each employee. Our goal is to find out if there's a free interval that is common to all employees. So my first thought is I just have a list of every single an array of size max number that we can find in the working hours. So, for example, what I mean by that is, for example, number 1, I would have an array of size 8 because the max guy is 8, the max hour is 8, right?
Okay.
So then we have like let me write down the indices really quickly to make sure I
start
actually
at
have
0,
it.
right?
Okay. Huh?
Start 0 index.
Oh yeah, no. I'm counting from 0 for now because we're not representing as an actual list just yet. This is more like a graphic.
Yeah, I know your indexes, but I'm saying your indexes should start at 0, not 1, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, it should start at 0, but this is more like a graphic representation. I guess 0 works. Yeah, I'll just add 0 too.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay. Are they off? Yeah, they're off. Okay. So yeah. And then we have employee working hours. You know, I'm assuming that they can start at 0 also as a working hour. There's no negative hours, right? We're gonna assume that hours are between 0 to 24,
Yeah,
or any like number, all positive. Okay,
yeah, so it's all positive, not necessarily up to 24. You know, let's say 25th hour to represent next day or whatever, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. And then after that we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then essentially we just go through the employee working hours, and we mark every single the range that they include. So, for example, employee 1-3, we would mark down the indices 1-3. We'd mark it as 1. It could be true. Doesn't really matter. Just mark it as 1 because we take some space in the example. So yeah, right. 1. Actually 0. We do 1 to 2. Because you know they can end and start at the same time.
Okay.
So we don't do the last one. So
1-3,
then 5-6 over here. You know, that's just 1, 2, 3 over here.
Sure.
As you can see, that 2, 3. We mark down 2. Oops. Yeah, we mark down 2. 6, 8. So that would just be 1, 2. And then we can see that the free times are between 3, 4. And then we can just get the first one. We stop until we get the first one we encounter.
3,
So
4,
essentially
4,
just
5. Okay, fine.
Yeah, 3 to 5. I guess we don't have to represent 0 or 8. So
Fine.
what I can do is just start at the minimum. We disregard everything before the minimum employee working hours. So in this case, it would be 1. So we disregard all zeros.
I get it. I understand what you're trying to do here, and then you only count the zeros that are in there. So what is the time space complexity of your naive solution here?
So the naive solution is we built the array of size, max. So it'll be at least O of n for traversing the entire list.
What does n represent
traversing
here?
the employee working hours.
Wait, what does n represent?
N is the number of items inside our employee working hours list.
The number of items.
The number of hours, yeah, like this. So 1, 3
Okay.
is 1 item, 5, 6 is 1 item, 2, 3 is 1 item.
Okay. So each of these are n or all.
Oh,
of
okay. I didn't see that they were nested.
They're
But
nested.
same. Yeah. So just I guess it would just be n is the number of items that we have, like top level, and the employee working hours. I guess we could just put it as E for the average length of the employee working hours.
Oh, okay, sure. And then what's the space complexity here?
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah.
Wait,
So.
okay, so yeah, but all right. I guess that's okay.
Yeah, let's do M then. M is probably a little bit better. So M for the max amount of working hours the employee has. So it's essentially a 2D matrix, a matrix, and then I just do N times M.
Okay. So n is the number of intervals we have, and then m
Yeah.
is the. Okay, just to clarify, n is number of intervals per employee or across the board?
Yeah, across the board. N
Okay.
is number of employees.
Okay.
M is the number of working hour intervals employees have.
Okay. Sure.
That's that. N times M over there.
Fine. Fair.
Yeah.
see.
And then, well, that's for traversing it. But then we actually have to consider if our number is really huge, right? Like, what if we have like 6 to 10? We have
Oh,
10,000
just do the
instead
average
of
case.
8
Average
there.
case is fine.
Okay. So yeah, that's N times M is fine. It's not a big deal. So yeah, that requires that's essentially the brute force solution. Let me write it down really quickly so we don't forget what the brute force solution is. So traverse the employee.
Okay.
Let me.
What's the space
So-
complexity? Are you working on space complexity?
Oh
right
yeah, space complexity is N times M also. Well, N times max number in max working hour. If that makes sense.
N times the maximum number of working hours total?
No, the max working hour, like, so 8.
Okay, N is number of employees, and M is...
Hold up. So, to derive this, what we're going to do is we do have to traverse through our entire employee matrix
But
again.
we're talking about space right now, just to clarify.
Yeah, we're talking about space, my bad.
Okay.
Space.
So why do I need to traverse if I'm talking about space?
Oh, no, my bad. So we had to store, yeah, so what I was saying earlier. So we had to store through the employee working hours. So this array is basically the max working hour that we have. So 0, we have 8 over here. That will be the max working hour out of every single employee working hour. And so our list is going to be size 8.
Okay.
So it depends on the highest number that we encounter.
Fine, that's fair. Obviously this is not efficient. How do we get better?
Okay, so how do we get better? So we have K employees. I guess for this situation, we also need to derive when an employee is free, when they're not free. So we can have, if we have them all sorted by start time somewhat, would that help?
Well, they're already all sorted by start time, right?
Yeah.
You can assume each of the employees working hours is sorted on the start time.
Yeah. But like, what happens if? I mean, individual employee hours are started by start time, but what happens if we have the... I mean, for this example, it doesn't really matter. So let's just focus on this.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 1, 3, 2, 3. We can... They're all sorted so far in hours. Let me represent it a little bit differently so I can visualize it a little bit better. So yeah. How would we do it? So my first thought is we put all the K employees inside some sort of heap, and then we just pop, and then a minimum heap, and then we just pop out the least employee, the lowest employee work time so far. So that in this case it would be 1, 3. We see if it checks if it's conflicting with anything so far.
Okay.
No. Yeah. See, it's conflicting with. Let me think this through a little bit more before I start talking about it.
Fine.
Okay. Because like internally, this is screaming heap to me, but I just don't know how to derive the logic yet for it.
Okay, you say you're gonna use a heap. Well, how does it help you solve the problem?
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm trying. So what I'm trying to figure out is how can we solve the problem internally? It's screaming heap at me, but I'm not sure how to derive that logic to use a heap. So I'm going to try actually deriving logic first and then seeing if the heap works well with it.
Sure.
So would getting the minimum help a lot though? Like 1, 3, we're getting the minimum element help. The minimum employee working hour, considering all of our employee working hours help. So 1, 3, does that help us? In any way, it helps us figure out that this is not a free time anymore. So this is not a free time, and then if we pop from the heap again, it would essentially be this. We would pop it by starting times because this is an array. So yeah.
Okay.
We have.
Let me pose it to you Let me pose you a question. What's the inefficiency in your naive solution, and how does heap solve it? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. The inefficiency is me creating the entire array so far.
Okay.
And yeah, since I have to traverse the entire thing to actually start working on it, can we do the work while we are traversing our employee working hours, essentially? And in that case, what we would be doing is it would be easy if we have everything. Would it be easier if we have everything sorted? So
you
in
already
this
have
case,
everything sorted. What are you talking about?
Huh?
You have everything sorted already.
No. I meant all employee hours sorted in general, like 6 to 8 over here, like this.
Sure.
Irrespective of employee. Then after that, we would just find the minimum. Not find the minimum, but I guess like my current thinking is I still have the list of max element over here. And then as soon as I have that, I would be traversing my entire employee working hours.
Okay,
with
so
the heap.
Sure.
Because then I have 1, 3. I can remove 1, 3 from the equation somewhat.
How you're gonna remove it from an array?
Yeah, that's. I can't do that.
Okay.
Well, I can't do that, but that's really costly, so that's no good.
Okay.
But is there any way we can make our inefficiency of doing 2 traversals, essentially do this in 1 pass? Doing this in 2 passes.
Okay, what's the other dimension of inefficiency are you doing here? What's the other thing that's inefficient here?
Other than traversing, doing this in 2 passes is the space wise, because we are initializing a huge range of a list.
Okay.
Essentially, and then to get the actual answer, we have to traverse that list again. So
yeah.
that's like
well, that's 2 passes. But is there something else? You just repeated yourself 2 passes. Is there anything else?
Yeah. We can assume they're sorted. So the inefficiency. So far, yeah, the 2 passes. Other than passes, what else is there inefficiency? What? Are we getting the? We're doing this in random order, essentially.
Yeah,
not
it's sorted. It's sorted by sort time. I keep telling you this. It's the 5th time I've had to tell you this.
No, I meant. So by sorted, I mean sorted in the 1D sense, but not. Is it always sorted in the 2D sense also? So 1, we're always gonna have 1 first, and then 2 comes into here.
Not necessarily.
So
that does it matter?
It doesn't matter for our current implementation.
Okay.
But I was thinking if we can get the minimum employee time out of all K employees.
Okay.
So in this sense, if we extract the minimum working time so far, so we have 1, 3, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 6, 8. This would be the order we would extract from the min heat.
Sure, but you're still iterating over every single interval, and you're still gonna end up with the same runtime.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help you solve the problem.
I mean, I think we would still have we would have to consider all employee hours in general.
Okay.
Because it has to be at least n times m, where n is the number of employees, m is the number of working hours employee has. So we can't really do better than that, because we have to consider every single interval.
Are you sure?
I mean, we have to at least look at.
You have to look at every single interval. But the one I'm trying to hint to you that this list here is inefficient.
Yeah. That list is inefficient.
Then where the hell is it written down?
So for the 2 passes.
Written down. So where is it?
Yeah. Okay, let me write that down.
In other words, you missed it.
Yeah. Our list storage is inefficient. Our storage of employee hours is inefficient. Yeah. So, those are both inefficiencies. How can we improve this to be a little bit better? So, first of all, we can start trying. Let's get rid of the storage space, because that's taking a long time. That's being one inefficiency that we'll tackle first. So let's tackle improving storage space. So how can we improve the storage space? For this wise, his problem with the storage space is we are containing every single number. Do we really need every single number? All we really need is the intervals that are not being taken up by the employee working hours. We need I don't know how to state. I'm trying to state this in non-mathematical terms. So what we need is the interval that is not covered by any of their working hours, but within the range of the working hours. So we need the essence, essentially, the problem is we need the interval that is within working hours but not covered by any working hours. Not covered by any working hours. We see 1, 3 over here. Okay, so improving the storage space is the solution we're tackling. 1, 3, 2, 3. Disregard this. So right now, what I'm trying to do is figuring out how we can improve the storage space.
Sure.
We can... So, to improve the storage space, we essentially need this. And what we can do is, if we have... Can we prune any, like, reduce...
Probably not.
The work...
I'm gonna tell you right now, probably not.
Okay.
Is there another? You can probably eliminate it altogether, but there's probably you're gonna have to think of it a different way.
Yeah, like yeah. If we have 1, 3 cannot tell us anything. So let's see. We have working hours. So 1, 3 cannot tell us anything about the free hours so far. I guess we can say that the free hours are not 1, 3, but we can figure out that at least the hours are 3 or above in that sense. And then if we go to 2 or 3, it still stays the same. If we then see 5, 6, then we can see that 3 or above and 6 or above. Then we see that we have, then we go process the next employee working hour. We have 6, 8. Since our previous solution had 6 or above, then we had to get rid of that. And in this case, it will be 3 or above and 8 or above. And then that's basically it. And what we would do is, I don't know how to eliminate 8 or above in that situation. Then we could always have a variable that tracks the maximum employee working hour as we traverse through our employee working hours, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
So then it would basically be 3 or above, but then, oh, I forgot to include in this case 5 or 6. 3 or above, but below 5.
Sure.
And after we do that, we figure out our employee working hours are right over here in this instance. So the problem then becomes, how can we figure out 3 or above, or like the interval while we're, how can we put this into code, I guess? This situation.
I mean, this doesn't work, but this doesn't work. This works. The question now is like, yeah, how do you make this into an algorithm?
Yeah. So putting this in an algorithm. So the first idea was this lovely storage space that is inefficient. Could we just have an interval so far, a list of intervals of ourselves, which is the employee working hours? So in this case, when we see 3 or above, we would have 3. We'll just initialize it to 0, 0. No. Initial solution was thinking, okay, we add 3 to it, but that's not really ideal. 3 or above, and then we have infinity in here, and we see that 3 or above is still infinity over here. Then as soon as we see that 5 is less than infinity, then we would just put 5 here, and then we would have 6 infinity here. And yeah, and then after that, we would get rid of 6 infinity and 8 infinity. So I think I have a better idea of what to do now. So we would traverse through our employee working hours. 1, 3, 2, 3, 5, 6. As soon as we then add this 3 or above sense to our list of candidate employee working hour solutions. So, and then initially it'll be candidate, just to make sure have this. It would start off with 3 infinity, right? So let me write this down a little bit so you can make more sense of it. So for each employee working hour, insert into candidate solutions. Working hour, end working hour, and infinity. So in this case, it would be 8 infinite. So we will have 3 infinite here. We will also get the 8 infinite, but how can we start removing and shutting down the amount of working hours that we have? So we have 3 over here. And then we have, so we have 3 over here. Would it be getting the maximum? So would the start time be the maximum end time that we encountered? No, not exactly, because we have 8 over here. 2, 3, 5, 6 over here. Infinity. How do we get to infinity? So at first we have 3 infinite, and then if we see 2, 3, that doesn't really matter. We check if the end working hour. So let's just do a little more naive solution over here. So 3 infinite, we see that this is still the same, so we don't add it. And then we have 5, 6, so that would be 6 infinite. But then we see that I feel like I'm repeating myself in circles a little bit. Going through the example over and over again to try and get a better solution. Insert into candidate solutions. There is if working hour range. And then infinite. We have 3 infinite, 6 infinite. And then we need to do something with the starting time here. So the starting time is, if we insert into starting time. Okay, let's first ask, are you lost? I guess.
Yeah, I've been pretty much asleep for the past like 5 minutes actually. You can watch the stream. I'm literally just like staring off into space.
Okay.
Like, I'm straight up telling you, like, you are rambling. And, I mean, you're making some progress, but it could be a whole lot better, I'll tell you that. But as long as you're making progress, you know.
Okay. So, what parts aren't
like,
you understanding
you
so
know
far?
that you're losing me. You know that. So, at least
Yeah.
you caught yourself.
I guess that's some improvement. So, I'm guessing, did you get lost after?
I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're doing. The thing is, you're trying to convince yourself. But to me, right now, if you want to throw in the towel, you're 30 minutes in, by the way. But if you want to throw in the towel, let me know.
I'll give it 5 more minutes.
Fine, okay, let's see how far you get.
Yeah. Okay, so insert into candidate solutions. It doesn't exist in candidates. We add start. We need to do something with the start indices. So then eliminate. Oops. Eliminate candidates that have that have. How would I say this in Eli 5? Starting working hour less than employee starting working hour. Well, not eliminate candidates, but modify candidates that have employee working hours. And we do that by doing starting working hour, employee starting working hour. So then this gets us a 3-5 solution. And in this case, it will be so currently what we're doing so far is we traverse into all of the employee working hours. We insert we have a list that contains our candidate solutions, and that will contain the ending working hour and infinity for a starting point whenever we insert an employee working hour. And then for each employee working hour, we have to consider the start point too to eliminate, so we don't have a bunch of infinites in our candidate solutions. So then we modify the starting working employee hour to be less than, if it's less than infinity and above the employee start time, then we add it over here to the end interval. So then that would be 3-5. And I think that is it for the storage space solution. That improves our storage space because we don't have an entire list of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, we don't have a huge list of the max number anymore.
So the question, you read the question again. It says if there is a free interval.
Yeah.
We don't need all of them. We just need one.
Okay. Only if there's a free interval. If there's a free interval.
Yeah, we only need one.
Yeah. So then I guess after we find a free interval, the first one, like, as soon as we can modify this, we just return after the first modification then.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we just, no, should we return after the first modification? That doesn't seem too right to me. Because if we took out 1, 3 from our employee working hours, so in this case, if we just took out 1, 3, then it breaks everything. Because, well, it doesn't break. It has, if we have this test case instead, it's just 2 employee working hours, then it sort of breaks, right? Then because we have, it would be adding in 6, infinite here, and then we have starting time less than infinity, but then 6. That really doesn't work too well. I mean, okay, if it's less then yeah, it gets rid of that. Then I guess it's fine then after we remove the first. We can return on the first modification.
Okay.
First time modify. Because if we're just trying to find a free interval, then it doesn't really matter too much. But my problem is that when we were doing the initial example, we had such an example that we had 6 infinite earlier on, and then we later eliminated that. So that would be, because then we encounter.
You're at 35 minutes, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, then I guess I'll just throw in
Okay.
the towel for this solution then.
All right. What do you think you did right? What do you think you did wrong?
What I did wrong was I did lose you. I was definitely rambling on for a little while.
Mhm.
Not a little while, probably a long while. I got stuck on. I missed out on addressing all the inefficiencies uh in my initial brute force solution.
Okay.
So summary so far is I missed out on all the inefficiencies that should have been addressed, and I rambled on.
Well, okay. The thing is that the ramble on is a sign, is not an action. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I'm gonna make the point. Do you think you went and tried to go for a magic bullet solution at any point?
Initially when it was, I did, when I was considering heap
Yes.
at first, because I had no logic to figure out why we need to use a heap, and then I was thinking like, okay, how can we justify using a heap? So I think that led me down a wrong path
Yep.
in the beginning.
Do you know how much time you wasted on that?
Probably like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Literally wasted
Yeah.
10 minutes. In other words, you haven't made this it's either one of two things. Either you haven't taken that mistake seriously enough, or you haven't gotten burned by it at all. And I know I've said in the past, no magic bullets, and you keep making the magic bullet mistake. So, and I don't know why that's not on your checklist.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually don't know.
Okay, let me put that in my checklist then.
I don't know, man. It's like I feel like a lot of these things that we're going over, especially in this problem, are things that we've talked about before in the past, and you just keep making them. And I'm just like, why isn't this on your checklist? And it's not on your checklist, so obviously you didn't think it was important. So
Yeah. I guess. Well, I did come with the brute force, so that was.
like you said,
but-
you struggle with coming with a naive solution. I think there's another example of why you don't come with a naive solution.
What do you mean?
I think it's a great example. It's like, well, for one, you keep going down wrong paths because you try magic bullet solutions, be that have no bearing or logic. The second one would be that, oh yeah, I missed out on some inefficiencies. In this case, which would be, oh yeah, does this not strike you as inefficient where you have to keep track of every single time element?
Yeah.
That strikes me a little inefficient, you know, especially if if only these 4 elements, why the hell do I need like 8?
Yeah. I did say that.
No, I
But
had to say
I
it.
guess-
You didn't write it down, remember?
I didn't write it down. Yeah, I didn't write it down.
You
so
didn't
I
say it
mi-
at all. Otherwise, you would have written it down. Don't. I think now I'm starting to understand. You are basically. You remember how I said before? You have this issue of over talking and being full of shit, and you keep talking so much that you convince yourself.
Okay.
I think that's your issue. That you talk so much that you convince yourself you're doing the right thing, even if well, the proof is in the pudding, right? You can watch the replay. You never wrote it down. You can watch the replay. I'm pretty sure you never said it either.
I definitely didn't write it down. Yeah.
Yeah, if it doesn't write down, it doesn't exist. And
Okay.
you can watch the fucking replay. I'm pretty sure you never said that. And if you did said it, you would have written it down. Like you said it when you wrote down when you talked about this.
Yeah.
So in other words, I think basically the issue. Now I'm starting to understand the reason. The reason why you can't evaluate your own mistakes is because you convince yourself of the wrong stuff. Because you talk so much that you convince yourself that you're doing the right things, and you focus on the wrong things because of it. In other words, you're not very honest. I think it's just that you're not very either honest with yourself, or you are lying to yourself that you're not even aware of it. It's one or the other, I think. And the reason why I think this problem is, like, the progress is pretty interesting. The reason why I think I picked this problem was because I can directly compare you to M, actually. Because I gave him this exact problem on the March 5th stream.
Oh, okay.
That's actually the more interesting part. Let's actually... In fact, I think that if I literally copy-paste his solution, I think this was, like, probably 3-4 weeks after I started with him, and then where I'm on, like, week 6 or 7 with you. If I just compare what he did versus what you did, he did this in 22 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's actually copy paste this. Let's actually see how he solved it. So this is the M solution. So in other words, he starts off with this. He does exactly the same thing you do. Okay,
Hold up.
I'm
Where is it?
right here. Do you see me highlighting it?
Let me refresh the page. It might not be loading for me. It's still on the problem sheet, right?
Yep. I'm highlighting.
Oh
in
yeah,
yellow.
I see it.
Cool. I'm highlighting in yellow. Great.
Yeah.
So, so let's do this. For every K employees, blah blah blah. If there's a free interval that's common to all employees, then we go ahead and do it. So he's trying it out as well. He's doing the exact same thing you are doing. So I approach exact same thing you're doing. Exact same thing you're doing. He describes his time and space complexity in a little different way, but it's basically the same thing. By the way, that's something else. You basically spent 5 minutes describing time and space complexity, and I felt like you're bullshitting me. You can watch replay as well, but it's basically bullshit. But we'll deal with that later. So the inefficiency he addresses 2 traversals allocate an extra array for the interval time. So he got there, right? And that's immediately the first step. In other words, if we compare the delta between what you did and what he did, you went meandering around on the magic bullet solution, whereas he didn't. You know, and that's a very big difference. Anyway, next thing he did, instead of allocating an array considering all interval time slots as it used to, compare all the free times. So in other words, how do we need to we only care about the free time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then how let's solve the problem, because we know all the employees' free time, we can discover the interval that they all have in common. Well, in other words, if you can somehow transform this problem from the working hours to a free time problem, then it just becomes an overlapping interval problem. So in other words, the heuristic, it's funny because that's literally something that you wrote on your sheet. And it didn't come in handy, which means that it's probably a bullshit tool. Remember, dropping you in the DMZ zone and you're walking on with a landmine, but it's like this thing is that your landmine detector doesn't even work.
Yeah.
So in other words,
I guess.
bullshit thing.
Yeah, I probably should have made. Yeah, keep going first.
Yeah, no. Basically, what I'm saying is that your heuristics is bullshit. Your problem solving is bullshit because like all you have to do is just it's like the heuristic here is just invert. Like instead of me considering the working hours, consider the free hours because that's what my objective is here is, right? And so how do I determine the free hours? Oh, I just look at the end of one interval and the start of the other. So it just becomes overlapping interval, except with looking at these intervals, you just look at the previous interval's end time and the current start time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then that's starting to make sense. Yeah.
Okay, but I don't want you to memorize. Oh yeah, this one particular time I didn't memorize this one thing. No. Notice that the only difference between what you're doing and what he's doing is literally just that one heuristic of like, hey, let me try inverting the things I'm looking at instead of looking at the working hours. Why don't I just look at that? And now, of course, all the other mistakes that you made with like the magic bullets and shit.
So the main heuristic to get from here is how to invert the problem.
Yeah, invert what you're looking at. Take the difference. Like instead of looking at free time, look at the working time. Look at the free time, because free time it's binary, right? The time that you're not working is time that's free for you to do.
And I would apply this when I find it difficult to work with the original
I guess,
problem.
Yeah. I can't give you I can give you an argument, not an understanding, but that's basically what happened here. Is that you needed to not realize when you're doing magic bullet solutions, which you obviously felt you had the need to. So in other words, you have no self-discipline for it, or you can't recognize it in yourself, whatever the fuck. But also, it's just, hey, why don't I just focus on the problem and try solving it? In fact, you kind of got pretty close with the, oh yeah, let me try the 3 to infinity and the 6 to infinity or whatever. But to me, that is also a form of the magic bullet solution because you didn't even know what the fuck you were doing with it. In fact, I would have forgiven that if you just said, hey, wait a minute, I just need to look at the intervals between 3 and 5. I mean, which you kind of said, but you never made the connection, which tells me that, hey, you're just trying random shit and you don't know where it comes from.
Okay, yeah.
Because you're hung up on this, oh, let's combine everything. You were really hung up on that, and I don't know why. Like, how does it solve? If you ask the question, how does it help you solve the problem?
Yeah.
So, based on I'm scrolling to the hit list and the problem sheet that he has. I think the difference between what you're doing and what he's doing is literally every single time I say something, he will take it to heart and he will literally focuses on it. And what you're doing, you're kind of the yeah sort of thing. And I know we've mentioned shit like this before in the past. How does it solve the problem? What's your objective? Etc. Etc. How do you iterate on it? How does this help you solve? How does it help you get a better and faster answer? And you just kind of throw that out the window. In fact, you could help yourself. So there's something in your nature that's kind of preventing you from doing that. Either you don't practice it or you just do whatever. You know what I mean? And it's honestly at that point it's just kind of wasting your time. It's wasting my time.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you the mistakes all you're doing and what you want. I can tell you what your mistakes are, right? And you could I see you're trying, but it's at some point there's an element of you don't I don't think you're practicing it well enough. That's all I can. That's what it looks like to me. Now whether or not that's true, I don't know. But the fact is that I know I've mentioned to him in the past oh yeah, how does it help him solve the problem? I know, and then he immediately writes that down. And he's doing it in half the time. So I mean the results speak for themselves. You can easily compare your progress and his progress in the streams and just kind of say, hey, yeah, this is what's going on and why. So, I don't know what to tell you though, but I hopefully this makes sense. Like
It's making sense.
yeah, the logic and heuristics. It's literally just invert the problem and simplify it, and then it just becomes a familiar overlapping interval problem, which you've probably done thousands of times before, dude.
Yeah.
So, this is what I mean by heuristics. What really matters. None of the shit that you wrote down really worked except for coming with a naive solution, but you had no idea how to solve the optimal solution. And this is the reason why, because you're not working on the general problem solving. You're working on memorizing these specific individual situations, and I think you've clearly shown that here, which is no better than fucking memorizing every single problem that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I need to work on finding out the inefficiencies and then generally addressing those with problem solving.
Yeah, well, not just that. In general problem solving with the heuristics, with the general mistakes that you've learned about, or whatever fuck. I don't know. At this point, like, it's a week out, and if you haven't grasped that, I'm not quite sure what to do. I don't know whether you're gonna pass or fail. I'm voting most likely fail, but like, we're gonna do our best here. But you really gotta hammer this. You really gotta hammer these problem solving techniques. That everything I've been saying in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Invert.
man. What is now me saying all that? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? What are you thinking here?
I mean, so far, yeah, of course I think you're right. It's just I'm thinking of, okay, how can I do this? Address these problems then, is what I'm thinking right now.
The way you're gonna do that is by making sure I never have to repeat myself.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making a mistake that Edbert told me not to make in the past? Shouldn't those mistakes be on your problem sheet? On your problem sheet by your checklist?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, why the fuck is it not on your checklist? If you made a mistake in the past, how are you gonna make sure you don't make the mistake again? Like, oh, be aware of this mistake, you know? I feel like that should be on your checklist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, I don't think you value the mistakes as much as you think you do.
Okay.
Maybe I'm the crazy one or some shit.
No, it's me.
Alright. Well, do one more problem here.
Okay.
Let's see, let me find the problem. Okay, yeah, why don't we do another problem that I gave him, and let's see how well you do it.
Sure.
Okay, given an array of strings, task is to find the number of pairs in which one string is a prefix of the other. So in other words, if I gave you like all this, and
hold up, I don't see it.
I'm highlighting in red.
Oh, okay, it's right below it. Okay, yeah, I see it.
Cool. So let me up. So, given an array of strings, task is to find the number of pairs in which one string is a prefix of the other. So in other words, string, back door, backgammon, door. You basically have three, which are prefixes of each other. Back and backdoor, backgammon, come and come back. Should be fair. I think this should be fairly straightforward, but.
Okay, yeah, I see it. That's straightforward. Yeah. Given an array of strings, task is to find the number of pairs in which one string is a prefix of another. So I can see that we can have the same prefix can be used multiple times. Backdoor, backgammon, come and come back. Okay, so first I idea is just to iterate through every single string and then check for that string if it's a prefix of every other string. So in this case, it would be for each string in strings, then check for every other string. For each string, s in strings for every other string, then s. For every other string, then s. Excluding for every other string excluding s, check if s is a prefix of the other string. And then after that, that should get us all our prefixes. So in this case, let's do a quick test to make sure it's right. So we have for each string s over here. So first we're considering back. And then for every other string, we go through backdoor. We see that back is a prefix of backdoor. So then we would add it to our add to master list of results. Right, so then to hold the backdoor results. So we would have back. We see that back. So right now we're on back. We see backdoor. It's a prefix. So we add back and backdoor to our list of results. And then after backdoor comes gammon. Then we do backgammon. Then, you know, that happens over here. And come back, come and door. Don't really do anything. You see that backdoor and backgammon are not one, so that's okay, yeah. Gammon and get. So yeah, backdoor doesn't really do anything else. Gammon doesn't really find another string that is a prefix. Come back, nothing really much. Then come. We see come is part of comeback. So then we add come and comeback and door. So that is our nice solution. The runtime of this will be O of n square for traversing. But checking if it's prefix will be essentially the minimum of the string. This runtime is going to be min of s of prefix and other string.
Okay.
Because to check if it's a prefix, we do that.
Okay.
So yeah. So after that, essentially it's O of n squared times the min of. I'm not too sure how to put this into words. Like put this into otherwise. So I guess it would just be the average length of the word, essentially.
Well, okay. What do you? Let's say I want to do some prefix checking. What's the fastest way for me to do it?
Prefix checking. So it would essentially be we traverse through the other string up to the length of s.
Sure. What's the faster way of doing it instead of traversing?
I mean, there's a starts with function.
No. Do you even know what? No. So do you know how start with works?
I thought it was, we just check if s is. So we have prefix and we have candidate. So then we essentially just do prefix is equal to the candidate up to the length of prefix, essentially. Like
okay.
this.
How does that equivalence operator work underneath the hood?
The equivalent operator is just a string dot equals.
Okay.
And that is essentially, O of the length of the prefix.
So in other words, you basically just described the exact same thing that you just talked about before. We're just iterating through every single character.
Okay. Then I guess. Okay, then and to the power 3 then. Okay.
I mean, you could do it that way. I would argue that an XOR operation would be a lot faster.
Okay. I mean, maybe. But I'm not too familiar with XOR operations.
Okay.
In the case of strings, at least.
Okay, I'm just saying just mass the two strings together on an XOR operation. Bitwise operations are always faster than iterating.
Yeah, for sure.
So no, it's not like, oh yeah. I get the feeling you're doing that again.
Okay, my bad.
No, don't do that. Take every single fucking word I'm saying is serious. So keep that in mind.
So yes, XOR operations are faster. You can XOR the two strings together, and then what do we do after if we XOR the two strings together? What would be the result?
Okay, well, whatever. You get the idea. It's n squared in cubed operation time. Is this the most efficient way of doing the problem?
Okay. Not really for this
Can we get
problem.
faster?
Yeah, we can definitely do faster. So the inefficiencies. Let's adjust the current inefficiencies so far that have occurred. So space is okay, and we definitely need to check the prefix of the two strings. So now it's a matter of, can we eliminate one of the loop over here? So yeah, can we eliminate one of the loop? So let's write it down first. Can we eliminate one of the for loops? Essential so far is the essential part of our algorithm so far.
I think I noticed something as well. When you are trying to like basically, how to describe this? When you have no idea what you're doing, you always fall back to the word essentially. I have noticed that. I'm gonna ban you from using that word. Just as an interesting exercise. I noticed that you have that verbal tick. Did you notice that?
No.
When you have no idea what you're doing, when you say essentially, you basically you actually say that word very specifically. You can watch every single stream I've watched. I'm very certain. Like when you say essentially, you just start randomly going off into doing some random bullshit.
Okay.
That's your verbal tick.
Eliminate that word. So yeah, because I feel like that's a filler word for me. Can we eliminate one of the for loops? A good pattern for eliminating a for loop is using a sliding window, but would that help us here? Would that help us here? If we have a window of size k or any fix, no, I don't think that will help us around here. Unless we do some sort of pre-processing first. Would sorting this... No. Sorting it would help if we're looking for one specific prefix. But we're looking for every possible pair of prefixes.
Okay.
If we do sort it... But let's entertain sorting for a little bit.
Where's that idea coming from? Where's that idea coming from? There should be alarm bells ringing in your head. There should be alarm bells ringing in your fucking head.
When I think sorting is because order doesn't really matter in this case, and if we can at least visualize the input as sorted, will any ideas come from having a sorted list?
Okay, so you're basically trying random shit.
Okay, I mean,
what you just said. Will there be any ideas that come from a sorted list? You literally just said that, yes or no?
Yes, I said that.
Okay, doesn't that tell you, hey, I'm trying something random here?
Okay.
No, okay, like, does yes or no?
Yes.
It's like noticing, like I said, you have to notice these things from yourself and be honest with yourself. So it's like, okay, maybe it does, but be aware that you are doing the sin of, hey, I'm going to try random shit, and then you only do that if you have no idea what the fuck you're doing, or you're out of ideas.
I'm starting to see it, yeah.
Like, you have to be honest with yourself with your mistakes. You have to be brutally honest. And I'm surprised you haven't caught that earlier. I mean, I'm sitting on this side of the chair for like, a few weeks now, and I know it's like your vocal tics. I know what you're doing. I know, like, and I've picked up these habits. Now, I don't know why you can't, but it's like, I mean, to be fair, most people are very it's very difficult for people to be honest with themselves. But I'm gonna tell you right now, you should catch yourself on that.
So far I need to catch myself on essentially and that whenever I think of trying something, get new ideas.
You have to be honest with yourself.
Okay.
Anyway, keep going.
Okay, so where was I? Sorting. Let's abandon that until we actually find a reason for it.
There's a logic. There's a string of logic here. Every single time I've come up with a solution, I've shown you the string of logic. It's never been a random shot in the dark.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're still doing it, so.
Right now, our current inefficiency is, can we eliminate one of the 4 loops to improve our n square time?
Okay.
So far this is essential. So we need to find every pair. Is there a way to find every pair without traversing it twice for every element, having nested for loops? Back door. If we, what happens if no, that won't. I'm not sure if that will work. Cause yeah, I'm not sure if that will work, so let's abandon that idea. So what I'm currently trying to do is finding out how to eliminate one of 4 loops. Should we try pre-processing for this idea to reduce our input, our arrays? So pre-processing, can we do this any better? So we just have to do this check specifically for a particular string. So we definitely need 2 inputs of a string. Is there, what happens if we have a particular so which one string is a prefix of another string? Inefficiencies are laid out. Can we be a little more specific with our inefficiencies then? Maybe that will help us. Can we eliminate? You need to search through every single other string. Find if it is prefix. Backdoor. It'd be simple to just do back if we represent every single string as a prefix, but that requires us to pre-process. Okay, that sounds very bad. I did not know what I was saying for that. Let's come up with a heuristic for this problem then.
What do you mean come up with a heuristic? Don't you have a heuristic for this one?
What do you mean? No, I meant heuristic as in can we eliminate the possibilities? Like it won't get us the right answer, but it'll get us a likely answer for this specific problem.
Sure.
So what happens if we only consider the smallest length strings? So in this case, it would be back and come, but we really don't know when to stop either way. So that's kind of a dead end. For each string, check with prefix. So so far we decided that the window is not too good. The sliding window is not too good. Is there a way? No, yeah. Okay, if we sort it, then the prefixes will be beside each other.
Okay.
So if we have, in this case, let's test it out. So if we have back,
You really can't help yourself, can you?
what do you mean?
I literally just gave you a 5-minute spiel about, hey, sorting just is a random fucking shot in the dark, and you're still doing it, you know?
I mean, I reasoned through it this time though.
If you say so. I don't think it's good reasoning, but okay. I'll let you do it. Just I want to see where this lands.
Okay. Come and come back. So now that we have this thing, then essentially what we can do is we can start applying the sliding window. So we have and door here. We traverse to the right until we have no prefix catch. Like it's not a prefix of the so and door is not a prefix of the back. So we get rid of that. We start with back door. We see that it's still a prefix, so we add it up. Then we go to backgammon.
Okay.
And we see that that's a prefix over there.
Okay.
So then we see a come, and then okay, come is not a prefix. So then we can probably stop over here again, and then we have come back, and we see that it's the end of the array. So then we add come and come back to our prefixes. Let's have prefixes.
Okay. What's your runtime of this?
The runtime of this would be O of n because we only we traverse through the entire array and log n because we have to sort the array initially, and then we traverse it using an unlog O of n traversal.
There you go. Okay, that does work. Yes. I'm gonna say there's probably one more better. Actually, that's fine. That's actually an okay solution. Let's suppose that the words are relatively short.
You mean like the word length, like each individual word?
Yeah. Might that change your algorithm or not?
It wouldn't change the algorithm too much, but if they are all the same length, then it might change it.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I'm not gonna ask you to code it up because you basically know what you're doing at this point. I think you finally figured out you know what you're doing in this one. Okay.
I finally figured out what?
You have some idea of what you're doing at least.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? We have only 20 minutes left. I'll let you code it up. Let code it up. Code it up for me.
Okay. Let me code it up right below your cursor then.
Sure.
So, let's define the function. Find pairs.
I'll make some comments on it later, but I'll code it up first.
Okay. Find pair of prefixes. We have our list of strings. And then after that, we have our list of strings. Let's copy the example that I had earlier, just to make sure that we don't forget any details of it. So we sort the string lexicographically. So string. So the typical sort function just works. The sort on a list works. So sort it. After that, essentially have a window 0, and we have our window end, which is essentially just traversing through the array. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Which is traversing through our array. Window n. Let's initialize window n to be 0, and while window end is less than the length of strings, indicating that we traversed our entire block of strings. So yeah. then we check if prefix. We do our prefix checking now essentially. So if strings dot window and let's make this a bit simpler, so we don't have to keep typing out the same words again. Start if string starts with, just for this is the prefix checking, that is what's be doing. That we'll be doing is strings window and then we forgot to initialize our list, our master list solutions, so then we append here. We append the pair that we have, which is string and strings window n. Else, if it doesn't start with it, then of course window start becomes window n plus 1, and then we have window n plus equal 1 over here. Okay. Then we just return master list in the end.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm going to pause here. Just because for the sake of time. But I'm going to tell you
yeah.
right now, the person let's take the interviewer side of the approach. Think about the few things I said. What do you think is the biggest one that stuck out in the past 5 minutes?
I didn't implement my pseudocode quickly enough.
No.
Because the idea wasn't, yeah?
I mean, you basically explained the idea. You had it pretty well already. You already said. So I don't think your pseudocode was the idea. You pretty much described your idea with sliding window, and it's fine. What do you think the big one was?
The last 5 minutes?
Well, last 5 to 7 minutes or so, yeah.
Okay.
What do you think? What do you think stood out what do you think the interviewer was trying to get at?
The last several minutes. What was the interviewer trying to get at?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, specifically, I felt I didn't really hear anything from the interviewer in the last 7 minutes, but I think the idea is probably, is this more ELI 5? Can this be simplified, essentially?
Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. The fact that you said, I didn't hear anything from the interviewer. Yeah. What the fuck was this discussion about? Do you remember this? What we had the discussion of the starts with?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if this becomes a factor, if the length of the words becomes a factor, then it becomes n log n times average length. The average length of comparing each word?
Mm-hmm.
And if that ends up dominating, does that change your answer?
Oh, okay, yeah. Then
I don't know. The interviewer was trying to hint you, hey, maybe this isn't the route you want to go down because you incur this penalty here. Yeah. So what if the length of the string does matter?
The length of the string does matter, yeah.
What if it does? I mean, like in this case, if it's short, then it doesn't change your answer. You're right. But then what if it's long? You know, what if like we're dealing with shit in German and German uses like fucking 20, 30 character words just to describe a doorknob or some shit? I don't know. Wait, what's the German word for doorknob? I'm pretty sure it's long. I mean, you get my point.
I get your point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my point is that, well, there's another angle to this that you didn't consider, and you just kind of hand wave the starts with. And the interview, and when I was trying to point you out, hey, maybe this is the penalty you're incurring. You might want to be careful of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
then we can try your XOR approach.
Even then, XOR. Let's say I banned you from using XOR because you still have to do the memory allocations of whatever fuck goes underneath the hood. God, I don't even fucking know. I know that the string equals does essentially a bit by bit, a byte by byte comparison by iterating through each byte. But I don't know the XOR one would be very fancy and stuff. But don't worry. But I'm saying that if I banned you from that and we skip that whole discussion, what would be the alternative to doing this?
The alternative to starts with?
No, the alternative to this entire algorithm. Because your algorithm is predicated on this working in a very fast time.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative?
Alternative solution to this entire algorithm. Prefix. Is the prefix... I mean, is there another way to check if the prefix is of another string? We could... other than iterating through this string, the prefix.
I'm gonna give you 15 seconds, and then it's gonna be very obvious once I say it.
Okay.
I think people in the chat have already figured it out. Actually, I think it figured out. Like Crow figured it out like 10 minutes ago. Actually.
Ah,
So-
jeez. Yeah, I'm slow.
All right. It's a try.
Oh, okay.
Do you know why?
I see it. I try.
So what heuristic are you gonna use to look for a try in the future?
If we need a lot of prefixes, then utilize a try.
Well, maybe, but it's just a common. Yeah, I guess commonly shared substrings is a reason to use a try.
Yeah.
But then, okay, but then now that I have a try, what would be the algorithm?
At first, instead of a try, what we'd have is, instead of doing the sort, we would essentially, not essentially. What we would do, instead of sorting it, we would convert all the strings into a try.
Okay.
After we have the try, then we would traverse the try and look for characters in the string that are also. We look for the prefixes inside our try.
How would we do that?
So for example, if we represent our array as a try, just to visualize this a little bit. So our try would essentially be an.
Essentially, see, you're doing it again. You can't help yourself.
So if we have the entire string in the try. Okay, let's do it with an actual example first. An actual prefix.
If one string is a substring of another in a try, what does that look like?
It would look like we have over here. Oh, okay, yeah. So we would essentially just have an end character over here, and then if there's any more, then if there exists an end character, then that means the rest of the children in the try are now suffixes of the prefix.
Okay, so yeah, of course. So then, what does your algorithm look like?
Traverse depth first search down the try. If we see an end character, then that's going to be the pair, the starting pair, the prefix, and then we traverse down the other path, which is all the other words. In this case, it would be backdoor, backgammon, over there. We append those, and then we essentially get all that in a list, and then we just append the prefix that we found to these two words.
I mean, this could be fleshed out a little bit better, but I'm going to let you work with that. But basically, here's backdoor. Let's say I have B-O-B for whatever reason, right? What if I have it like this? Does that change your answer a bit?
In this case?
Yeah.
Okay.
You notice how your answer just kind of fell apart if once I threw another chain in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, my point here, what I'm trying to illustrate to you is this is a great example of fighting the interviewer. Where you basically, I tried helping you like, hey, maybe you want to consider how this string starts with, and you just kind of like rejected it, and then also oh yeah, well, everything needs to have a logic, right? And technically you're right, like the sorting thing, but what I didn't like was you randomly throw sorting at the problem. That's if you're out of ideas, and to be honest, you didn't need to. You could have just said, hey, well, I just need to shorten up looking at every other string because I recognize this double for loop as part of a sliding window if it was sorted. So that was the logic. If you recognized, hey, 2 for loops can lead to a sorting window, sliding window, I would have forgiven that. That's fine. The difference is that you see where the difference is.
Yeah, I should have explained it. Why?
It's not even that. It's that this is a pattern that you studied, and you should have recognized, hey, this can work in these XYZ properties. That's your logic. That's the logic that you should have taken. And the fact is that you didn't really come up with that, so I don't know. So it's when I look at all this, when I see this, I just see that it's not something's not clicking, right? And I think again, like I said, I think it's just because you like. I need to go into this whole spiel again, but basically you need to be honest with yourself. Really, really honest with yourself. Why aren't you doing this? Every single little misstep. Not because like, oh, I got the right answer, whatever, move on. No, everything, every step that you take, every little piece of reasoning has to come from somewhere, has to match the logic, has to not break the rule of like no magic bullets unless I'm out of bullets. Yeah, everything we talked about in the past, every single, like look back at the fucking problem machine stream, like, and you said you took notes every single time, so you should have this in your notes. I don't know why it's not. So
I tip what in my note?
you should have like the no magic bullet one in your notes, right?
Yeah.
The sliding window should be instinctive, should be like immediately recognized. And then the try one, I feel like that should be pretty straightforward. It should have been like what are the situations you should recognize a try in. I feel like your list is incomplete. I don't know, man. I can only give at this point. All I can do is just give you the feedback and tell you like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, but it's up to you if you want to do it.
Mm-hmm. I definitely need to do it more, yeah.
It's not more.
Need
It's
to
you
be
have
more
to just be smarter about it. Be super honest and critical about yourself. It's like you're 250 questions in, but you're only doing as well as like. Wait, let me look at. Perfect. I can look at M's diary actually. This diary, M. How many practice questions did he go into on March 5th? Let's see how many questions he was in. Okay, he was about 140 questions in, 130 questions. So basically, you did twice as much work and got half the amount of reward.
That's not good, yeah.
That's really not good. I think you should have a chat with him. Like, just ping him up. Ping him on the Discord. Have a chat with him. Tell him about, like, all the problems that you're having, and then maybe he has got an answer.
Okay, yeah.
Because I know he's had the same, like, issues. And, of course, like, definitely had longer with him. But, like, I don't know. Like, if I just benchmark your progress versus his, something's not clicking with you, so. You got 1 week, man. Hopefully we make it work. But I'm going to suggest you to have a long chat with him. I think, here, let me send you his contact info.
Yeah, you sent me, yeah. I already
Okay.
talked with him before.
Talk with him again. I would say, like, try to make sure you really, like, I don't know, like, think of it like church, you know? Like, confess your sins and shit. Maybe he's got an answer. But I ain't got one.
Okay, yeah. I think I make excuses for myself when analyzing then.
Yeah. I mean, do you notice, ask your girlfriend or stuff, do you find that you're making excuses for your own behavior or some shit? Maybe it bleeds into real life. Maybe you'll be able to find something like that.
Oh boy. Real life, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a consistency principle, right? What you do in one thing, you're going to do in another. It's like I'll be perfectly honest, like, the fact that I'm, like, a huge asshole in real life, it bleeds into me when I play fucking games, you know? I'm going to take that shit seriously. You know, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm casual in gaming, but when I do this, I'm someone else. Not really. So.
Yeah, I definitely see myself rambling a lot in other aspects of life, well, every aspect of life. When
But yeah, like, you need to have someone who's, like, very honest with you, like, tell you, hey, yeah, I think you're full of shit a lot of times, and you make excuses for your own behavior. Maybe that'll be a real slap in the face. It's like, there has to be the mistake. Someone has to tell you that, and it has to hurt so badly that it burns in your brain at this point. But I don't know. I don't know if it is in your real life. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm full of shit. I don't know.
No, I don't think you're full of shit. You're right. Yeah.
Well, ask around and see if it clicks. But anyway, that's my advice to you. Chat with some people, get that feedback, and really, really try to make sure that you're not repeating the mistakes that we've talked about in the past.
Yeah.
Right.
Analyze the mistakes. So, if we were to sum up the mistakes so far, well, the ones from today, it would essentially be the no magic bullets, it'd be no magic bullets, essentially, is my tick for rambling and being honest with myself when analyzing.
Yeah. Like, you should notice, like, your patterns in your analysis. You should notice, like, oh yeah, I have the habit of doing X, Y, Z in my analysis when I do my problem. When I do a problem, I have a tendency to go here. I have a tendency to do this. And that's what I mean by being honest with yourself. Like, hey, what are my ticks? What are my patterns? What do I have a tendency of doing? What do I have a tendency of not doing? What am I paying attention to? What am I not? It's like being able to tearing yourself apart over and over and over again, just so you can do better. but I feel like you haven't really done that. I think you're just going like a quarter way or halfway at most.
Okay.
So anyway, that's
Yeah,
it for me.
I need to.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that you're right. I think some of the times when I do watch my own videos, I feel like I bore myself with the amount of words I speak to. So that might help with it. That might, yeah. Other than that, nothing much.
All right.
Thanks for the session, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you figure out those heuristics and just keep practicing, I guess. But really make sure that most importantly you look at your own replays. All right. And mistakes. All right. And I will see you on Sunday then.
All right. Cheers.
All right. Later.
Have a good time. Weekends.
All right. That was it. Any questions from the crowd actually? Crow, you kind of nailed it. It was a try to do that problem. And yeah, it would have been, the runtime would have been like, oh yeah, you need to go for the number of characters, because you know every single word that you look at every single character, right? So the first loop on that would be iterate through every single word. So that's your order. Let's call it X runtime, where X is total number of characters, or M times N, where M is the average number of characters per word times the number of words. And then after that, then you're going to iterate through the entire tree, which is M times N again. So it's 2MN, which is you're iterating through every single character twice. And then for each one, you're going to try every single possible combination of, it just becomes like a iterate through a tree and look at and make every single possible combination and permutation along the way, right? So it's like if you go down a path and there is like, you know, end of word 1, end of word 2, you combine the two. That is your what's it called? That's your like substring and pair, right? But then let's say you have that third, like the backgammon and backgammon Bob. Then you basically have every possible combination thereof. So it changes the runtime a little bit there, but that's basically the way to solve it if the length of the word is a factor that you need to consider. This makes me realize I'm tremendously early in my grind heavy prep. So much left to learn and practice, recognized through consistency practice. Thanks. Yeah, no problem, Al. I have one. So when he was doing the interval question, I followed through and noticed the free time thing. You mentioned to him, why didn't he put that on his list? So my question, if you're in his.
Very tough lane for himself.
Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's going back and forth, and MKS.
So I think you're asking if that heuristics in my list. Yeah, it's an incredibly powerful heuristic, even in everyday life. If you're in his situation, how would you make sure that you don't make the same mistake besides memorizing it? You make it a habit. You make it a fucking habit. That's all I gotta say. It's if you're asking how do I not make the same mistake again, I'm aware of the mistake. I reduce it down to like maybe a heuristic or two, and try to improve it. I basically ask myself what I can do to myself. Yeah, exactly. In my mind, I just say what is a rule that I can come up with, or something that I already know and just massage it a little bit. I think for me, I didn't have this problem because, you know, I take a lot from Charlie Munger, actually. And I found that for me, just being able to copy a lot of his mental models, like there's a whole speech on like his mental models and shit. And if you read like, hold on.
Every time Whitemon's got that celestial hammer, he just throws it out and just makes Jarmon's life a living hell. Speaking of the devil, Whitemon is going to show up for the 6-minute power room, but it is going to be down a bot where Carl has already picked one up. He'll go for a TP play out.
I think for me, the reason why I never had this problem was because, well, first of all, this poor Charlie's Almanac. I've read this one, I probably got 3 times. It's a collection of 12 speeches that he's had that he's made, and a lot of it always talks about like inverting. Yeah, like always invert. I remember that one by like the fucking back of my hand so much that it actually became an instinct for me, and I use it a lot in like everyday life too. So that's never been a problem for me. And there's also another section in here called the 24 causes of human misjudgment or something. That one's also a big one, and that was actually the basis for my checklist, actually. And to show you, this is my checklist for engineering. In the top of it, you see like, hold on, let me change my camera here.
Solar Guardian, RP, Overgrowth.
So you see here, the top of my engineering list, you know, you have like planning, you have fucking like risk evaluation here. You have like trying an idea, asking a question, etc., etc. But the top of my fucking list is psychological evaluation, which is just a synthesized version of his 24 causes of human misjudgment. So I have my own checklist here for my own career, and I use this like every single time. In fact, I'm trying to update my own list, because I have like a lot of like notes in the back of here. So in other words, I don't have this problem because I practice it. So, I mean, and so that's basically what it comes down to. If you're spending like 20, 30 hours a week, like fucking doing problems, then you should have a lot of practice with these heuristics. I mean, let's put it this way. Let's say I work 40-hour work weeks. I obviously work a whole lot fucking more. But, even at Uber, and whatever. And let's say like, you know, a third of my time is in meetings. So 40 hours, let's say 15 hours. 15 hours a week is in meetings. And then, you know, another 15 hours are in planning, 15 hours in coding. Well, let's take those 30 hours, right? The 30 hours that I'm spending is the same 30 hours you're spending in fucking doing problems. And if I can practice those fucking heuristics all during the 30 hours and still be pretty good at them, I think you can too. If you take it seriously, you know what I mean? So that's my little talk on that. It's like, if you use these heuristics over and over again, and you use them constantly, and you have that checklist, then at some point a big majority of that checklist will become, you know, straight up ingrained in you. Or at least like the big major points, right? Like there's only like, I would say 5 or 10 ideas in the world that carry 90% of the weight. The rest of it is like false, like really small shit. And so what people are doing, like what he's doing wrong, is that, hey, he's thinking that I need to memorize every single like situational thing, which obviously no one can, and that will be the basis. And I think that for me, that's kind of escapes me. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't really see that until like 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks after the habit has occurred. And you know, even though I like check him and try to do everything I can, sometimes some things are gonna slip by me. You know what I mean? And so it's that's kind of like what I gotta say on this.
Still struggling in net worth, I suppose, a little bit in this bottom lane, so you don't really mind.
What book is that? The book is called Poor Charlie's Almanac. Hold on, let me get the face camera up. This one. This book costs like $50-60 bucks, but it's honestly like one of the best investments you'll make. I think it's even better than Bitcoin. I think this book is sincerely better than Bitcoin. You know what? Like if I get like a, oh wait, I didn't do anything for 2,000. Hold on. I did not do anything for the 2,000 subscriber special. I should actually. You know what? Hold this. I'll figure this out later, but I will do a giveaway of this fucking book. You know, like let me figure out how I'm gonna do that. But I will do a giveaway of this fucking book to someone in my Discord. You join Discord, you participate. I'll announce the details of it, but I will literally buy like maybe 3-5 people this fucking book. That's how much I believe in it. And in fact, like all the speeches are for free online anyway. This book just organizes it. Okay, yeah, I see. It's not really a problem for me after I understand what I'm doing, but I see it's a problem for Jay. I mean, it's kind of like everyone says like we're our own worst critics. I believe that is only true for like one of the most successful people, because successful people look at the fucking like everything is like on them. Everything is like, you know, if there's something wrong, then it's my fault and my responsibility to fix it, right? Even though that it may not be that when some people like who are overly analytical have a tendency to move to the other side of the equation where like, hey, you're overthinking all the little shit that you don't have control of. And that can be also problematic. But I'd rather be that than someone who just blames like all my fucking misfortunes on someone else. You know, cause it's like, oh yeah, on that day, you know, the Uber, or like the fucking Google interviewer had a divorce, you know, and decided not to pass me. Oh, we're in a recession and people are freezing hiring. And woe is me. Everything. There's always gonna be something that goes wrong, you know. So I don't like people who just straight like are not honest with themselves and don't take responsibility for all like as much as they can. You know, obviously there's a point of no return, and obviously there's a lot of things that it's very difficult to do. But for the most part, like 99% of things in your life, you should be able to have some control over and be able to prevent like shit from happening. That's the thing. And so I take it to an extreme. But for most people, I find they don't. They don't care. They just think, oh, it's someone else's fault. Not, you know, they oversubscribe their successes to themselves, and then they undersubscribe failure to themselves. They always say like it's some circumstantial evidence, and it's like it's a human tendency. Hold on. Let me get another book out. God damn it.
Neither could Bon.
Yeah, just not. not being able to burst through the Viper still fairly durable enough. Power threats on
Okay.
Grand Freight Band.
This one. Judgment in managerial decision making. Okay, it sounds like some shit you're gonna read in an MBA, but honestly, this is really gonna help you. It's only like 150 pages, and it's a pretty cheap pickup, like it's $5. But in it, they'll talk a lot about like the human biases. They'll talk a lot about they'll talk about like egocentrism. They'll talk about like the tendencies that people are prone to when it comes to like organizations, their motivations. Like ultimately, being a manager is just asking people how do you get these two people to come to an agreement. And negotiations are like how do I get what I want, and so the book covers like the basics of all this shit, but I highly recommend it actually. So like I said, it's a human tendency, and once you understand it's a human tendency, it's like, well, I can't really blame someone who isn't exposed to that idea and hasn't been like burned by like their own mistakes over and over and over again in the past. But at the end of the day, it's like, even though I tell you about it, even though I can say what it is, it's like there's an understanding to be had there, right? I can give you an argument. I can give you an argument of like, oh yeah, you should take more responsibility for things in your life, even if it seems like it's not your fault. Even if like let's say someone screws you over in like a deal or whatever, or like manipulates you. I'm not gonna think to myself, oh god, this person is this person's fault? I mean, yes it is, and I'm never gonna deal with that person again, but I'm also gonna be thinking to myself, okay, how do I prevent this from happening again? I'm going to think to myself, how the fuck can I take responsibility for this and prevent shit like this from happening? Because I guarantee you, there's always going to be someone else. How's it going to happen the next time in your life and whatever? So, I mean, to be fair, I'm like a huge. I read a fucking lot, and I don't read a lot of garbage books, so.
Won't be able to do that though. Whitemon
Let's see. Any recommendation of number of problems to do daily? It's not, and read your whole guide and took notes, and it made a huge difference so fast. It's not about the number of problems. It's about the quality of it. Like I said, you saw earlier. Matthias did 130 problems, and Jay did 260 problems, and for that exact problem, Matthias was able to solve the what's called the problem, I think. And you can look back at the June 5th stream. The March 5th stream. It should be under the playlist for Matthias practice coaching sessions. You can watch the March 5th stream, and let me know if I'm wrong about this in the Discord or Twitter. But essentially, at that point, he only did 130 problems. Jay can't solve the problem, and he did 260 problems. So it's a matter of like, it's not amount of problems you. It's about the time. It's about the amount of time and the quality of that time you spend. In other words, if you can spend like, I don't know, if you can do like 60 or 70 problems and really spend just as much time doing the problem as you do criticizing yourself and really think about how to like make sure that this doesn't fucking happen again and all that jazz, you'll do a whole lot better than someone doing 300 problems mindlessly. Can you turn off the background sound of the game? Is distracting. Oh, sorry about that. My bad. How do I do a Bread Cat bounce face reveal at 2000 special? Yeah, it's I don't know. Bread doesn't want to show his face, so no, he ain't gonna do that. Please turn off Twitch stream. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that people were so distracted. I'm sorry. So I'm just gonna turn off the sound for it. Fair point. Sounds like it's all about being genuinely self-critical and making a log of every question with detailed mistakes, quality understanding. Absolutely. So just kind of recap the small thing I said about like the managerial decision making. It's human tendencies to blame other people for failure and to take and to oversubscribe success to oneself when it should be, if you're rational, it should be just equal. It should be equal, right? And so I recommend reading this book. Our negotiation, there's like a little bit of negotiating in here. Manager is all about trying to get people to work with each other, and in that there's always like human biases, tendencies, and we're not like 100% rational. I think we how to describe it? We really overemphasize and overbelieve falsely that people are like rational and believe the right things. Like, let me give you an example. Like, for instance, if I said that there was you have two choices, right? You have one choice of taking a $50,000 loss, or there is a gamble that you can take where you have a 50% chance of gaining $100,000, and gaining zero. Well, actually, I say you have a gamble where you have a chance of losing $100,000, and then you have a chance of losing no money. So people would actually take the second option because they would prefer not to lose money at all. There's a chance that they don't have to lose any money whatsoever. And so they'll take the second one over the first one. Because guaranteed loss is so painful that they would rather avoid it. That's what I mean by being irrational, even though the expected value of the games are exactly the same. So, I see our viewers are dropping, so you know what? I guess I'll turn off the stream. Any final questions from people? Going once, going twice. All right. Guess that's it. We'll have a stream on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will hopefully be able to see some improvement from Jay, but I'm like, you know, I'm fingers crossed. I don't know if he's ready. I don't think he's quite far off. But you know, we work with what we gotta do. You know, there's everything we gotta do. You know. So 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you all there. Thank you all for joining me. If you guys want to be coached by me, you can book me for interview coaching at eChanTech.com. Otherwise, join me in the Discord. I'm there very often. I talk basically about everything, engineering, stocks, whatever. Till then, see y'all next time, and have a good night.